Hi everybody, Fintan here from Damson Cloud. This week I wanted to talk about remote working again. It seemed like a topic that people were quite interested in, and I thought today I might cover my 6 do's and don'ts, I suppose, for video conferencing etiquette. So we do video conferencing quite a lot, and I thought that it would be a good sort of topic to cover in terms of what are the kind of things you should think about when you're working remotely or working from home or from a coffee shop or wherever, and you have to jump on a video call. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a screen share, and I'm going to be using obviously Google Meet. So I'm going to name my little meeting here, which is just a test one, and I'm going to join my meeting. Now the first thing you need to think about is you need to think about the positioning of your camera. So in this example here, it's quite low. Maybe I might have it quite close to myself. You can see here within Google Meet, I can actually test this out before I join the video call, which is quite valuable. But I'm going to join the video call just so it's in full screen. So often we'll see people keeping the camera quite close to them. Maybe they might have their screen angled for on their laptop for sort of best viewing when typing, and so you end up doing things like looking at the screen. They sit back and all you're doing is kind of seeing the top of their heads. So we would recommend that you position the camera facing yourself. If possible, if you're not going to be using your laptop, push it back a little bit. Now you can see all of me, maybe angle it further down so that when I sit back, you can actually see a full view. You can see my hand movements, and it's much easier. So have a think about that and about the positioning. If you want to take it up to a next level, if there's something in the room that you can use like this, then you could perhaps place the laptop up a little bit higher, and now it's almost at eye level with me, and I've got quite nice lighting coming in here. We'll pretend this is the light coming from the window, and people can now see me and engage with me much better. If I had other people who were joining the call on this, I would want to push the laptop back so that I could get a wider angle view. The only other way you would do that would be with a wide angle camera. Okay, so positioning is the first one, and the second one is actually leading into that, which is thinking about your background. What's in the background of the video call? Is it pointed maybe to the side and it can see into other people's offices, and you need to have a think about that? Is it pointed at a screen in the background that maybe has private information about your company that you don't want people to see? And so just have a think about that when you're starting out your video call or when you're getting set up for your video call. The next thing is noise. So background noise, like the road outside, I've made sure that all of these windows are closed. I'm in a nice quiet office. If you can book a meeting room or access a meeting room, here at WeWork there's little booths that you can go into if it's kind of loud in the main working area. And so just thinking about that kind of noise and background. And then my follow-up to that, or my tip for that, is make sure if you're working remotely that you have a set of headphones. So this is just a very simple set of Apple headphones that I have, and I don't go anywhere without having this, because for me, when I plug these in, then I can use the microphone on here. It's going to pick up the microphone on this, and it's going to stop people from hearing the sound of my voice coming back out through the speakers and reverberating, and that can happen quite a lot, and it's very distracting for people. So just something to consider when you're out and about and you're traveling. The next thing that I would mention on the sound piece is selectively muting yourself. So on Google here, I can select mute, and that will mute my voice from the call. And so that's a very good idea if there is a lot of background noise that maybe you can't control. So again, just have a think about that, and if it's possible, or if you think it's necessary rather, mute yourself when you're not engaging in the conversation. Now that doesn't mean that you don't want to end up not engaging with the call, but just in between, if someone else is speaking or presenting, it could be a good time to just mute the call so that it's easier for people to hear you. And the next one I wanted to talk about was distractions. So this is something that can happen quite frequently when people are working from home. They will maybe forget about the dog or the kids walking in, or they'll forget about having the dryer on in the background or the washing machine. Just have a think about other distractions that could potentially interrupt your video call. I would also advise that if you do have an interruption that you know is going to happen, let people know in advance. I think most people are okay with it. If you say, I'm going to have a delivery during the call, just so you know, I might have to step out for 2 minutes. If you've let people know in advance, I think most people are happy with that. And then the next one, or the last one really, is just have a think about the lighting. So in this scenario, I've got quite a lot of lights here, even though it's dark outside. The big one that I see people doing is actually the light from during the day, from the sun coming in, and they will position themselves with their back to the window. Now, sometimes it's not something you can change, but what will happen is the camera on your computer will pick up the fact that it's getting a lot of light in, and it will dim that down. So if I face this here on this one, and we kind of pretend that my light here is the sun, you can see that it will actually start to make it darker. It's actually making it very dark here, but often that can be the case. If I simply position myself around here, I'm now getting lots of light onto my face, and I'm much better lit. Now, sometimes, as I said, it's not something you can control, but I would be better off if this room was dimly lit and I had light coming in here, maybe to just position myself to this side so that I'm facing towards the light and I'm being well lit now. So just have a think about that, because that can be quite distracting if for people there's a huge amount of light coming in behind you, and it's dimming the screen for them, and you're just kind of a dark face. That can often happen, particularly during the day when it's very sunny. So yeah, have a think about that. You also, if you have blinds or anything like that in your room, you could think about that before you start the call. But that's one of the most common ones that I see with lighting, and then the positioning one, where you're just kind of looking at the top of people's heads. So have a think about positioning, your noise, your background, and a little bit on the lighting. And once you've kind of got your setup, you know, if it's your home office or it's an area in your office where or at home where you work, you kind of only have to do it really the once. Do you know what I mean? And then you know that's where you kind of go for video conferencing. People know if that room's closed, you know, that you're in a video call. They know not to maybe to go in. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this week's short update. I've covered 6 particular areas that I think people should consider when they're looking at video etiquette. Do you think there were any that I missed out? Are there any particular things that you do when you're going on a video call, whether it's from home or maybe from a remote office? There's lots of remote places now that people work, like these kind of hot desking areas, like we work, where many of our team would come and share a desk. And just having a think about that, when I'm joining a video call in WeWork, I would move away from the kind of hot desk area, because often it can be quite loud, and also I don't want to distract the other people around me. So are there things that you do when you're on a video call? Please let us know in the comments below. We love having your engagement, and I've really loved the feedback that we've gotten quite recently on some of our more recent videos. So that's it. Look forward to talking to you guys next week and responding to the comments and shares on all the social media channels. Chat to you soon. Bye.